See, when we are younger, when negative emotions get installed or limiting beliefs get installed, that's when we don't have something called conscious mind. Everything that happens to you before the age of 6 is getting installed. You have not the resources, the strength, the capability, the stamina to push back. Everything is true. And that becomes very deep inside of you as a belief inside of you and starts to shape your future. Through timeline therapy, we will be able to kind of travel back with an old adult mind, kind of looking back at your situation when you were so much younger and say like, what happened at that point of time was happening because I was young. I didn't have the resources. What could I learn at that point of time that this emotion simply disappears?
It's like a time travel machine.
Kind of a time travel machine.
Go back in time to fix things.
Yes, exactly. And capture the learning.
Welcome to the Voices of Impact, the podcast where we go beyond the slides and into the real stories behind learning, performance, and how expertise creates real change in organizations. Hi, my name is Hamed.
And my name is Nadir.
We have a very special guest today. He has spent over 3 decades living and working across Asia, helping people understand themselves better and create meaningful change in how they think, feel, and perform. With a strong background in human behavior, mindset development, and psychology of change, he has worked across countries, cultures, and industries, supporting leaders, professionals, and organizations in real-world transformation. He blends Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or NLP, coaching, and behavioral science to move people beyond theory and into real, lasting behavior change in how they lead, work, and live. Please join me to welcome Andreas Dorn. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for dedicating the time. Andreas, I was looking at your bio and I noticed you have been here for quite a long while. You have moved to Asia in 1993, and then you have worked in Indonesia, in Singapore, and at last you have decided to settle in Malaysia. I would love to hear a little bit of that story.
Well, yes, I came to Malaysia way back in 1993, working with the United Nations at the Prime Minister's Department when I arrived here. And I had a 2-year contract here in Malaysia, and I think it was the last contract with the UN had with the Malaysian government, as far as I still remember. But like all foreigners, all Matsales in this beautiful region, when I came here, I fall in love with the country, with the people, with the food, with the weather, ultimately also with my wife, whom I got married to in 1995, and pretty early on decided I wanted to stay here. So I decided to stay here. And then when my contract expired, I thought like, okay, what else can I do? So I was looking around and moved over to Indonesia then. Worked in Indonesia from 95 to 98 until the Indonesian revolution, the country collapsed. It wasn't my mistake, I promise you that, but it was one of the most scariest times in my world, in my life overall, because you saw shopping malls burning and people like really like in heavy distress overall. And then we kind of ran away to Singapore, had a contract there for another 15 months, 2 years. And then came back to Malaysia in 2000 and ever since stay here. And in Malaysia then I started to work in an HR consulting company for another 5 years. Until then I opened my own company of Asia Dynamics.
Yeah, wonderful.
So you came back to Malaysia and you signed a long-term contract, right?
It was not a long-term contract. It was a contract. I applied for the job. I got the job. I was very, very happy because before that was a longer period of unemployment, which was also very worrying. Got the job, worked. Then I was a backup to the consultant. So I was a guy in the backup. Consultants, the company just opened up in Malaysia. So I was either employee number 3, 4, or 5. When I left in 2005, there were about 50 consultants here in Malaysia. So the company expanded rapidly. And I was a guy first working on Malaysia. Consultants came in and asked me, hey, I'm going to meet CEO of company ABC. What can you tell me about that company? And at that point of time, my job was to find the backup to the company, researching. Facebook didn't exist.
No Google.
No Google,
No LinkedIn.
nothing existed, only Yahoo, I think, or so, and a couple of other websites. So I had to research companies, finding ways to get as much information as I could. I wasn't that bad in doing it because very quickly I got responsibility for Southeast Asia, then Asia Pacific, and later on very quickly got linked up with the American headquarters and worked with them on research projects. Loved the job, loved what I was doing, but there was always, of course, a hiccup along that line, which I can share with you if time permits.
All right. Great. So obviously, like, as you mentioned, you worked at United Nations program to corporate research and HR consulting. You have seen very different environments. Any memorable stories that you can share with us?
Good. Wow. First of all, coming to Malaysia, had no clue about the country. Even though it was 93, no internet existing. So all the research that I could do about Malaysia was talking to friends who were in Thailand and Singapore. Nobody knew Malaysia.
No Instagram
Malaysia,
stories.
where is Malaysia?
No Instagram stories. Yeah.
No Instagram story, which came a couple of years later, So I talked to also the professors, read a couple of articles, magazines about Malaysia, travel guides, thought it's a nice country. When I came here, it was very, very different, much better than I thought before. It was lovely, and I decided to stay. So these 2 years then working in the government here in Malaysia was lovely. The major change came when we moved to Indonesia, because first of all, it was new job, new country, and I just got married. My former boss said 3 things that you should do 1 year after the next, not all 3 at one go, which I did. I worked in Indonesia, then built up a department on market research, business-to-business market research. Loved what I was doing, traveling around Indonesia, talking to many different people in companies, helping companies to establish themselves in Indonesia. Until then, the Asian crisis came and Indonesia collapsed, and that was really, really scary. That was one thing overall. In Singapore, was also something scary because when the company I worked with, they were weekly reporting on CNBC. And one day my boss was sick and I had to step in front of CNBC cameras worldwide and give a 2-minute update on something. And I promise you, when people say like it's hard to speak in front of cameras, I can agree it was really, really hard. It was a hardcore transformation inside of me as well. And then again, of course, going back to Malaysia, no job, applying for jobs, again, still no internet, really, waiting for the weekly edition of the newspapers coming up, flipping through job ads. Not sure if your audience watching this podcast still remember a newspaper, this thing you can see, flipping pages and newspaper ads in there and looking for jobs and applying for those jobs.
Yeah, Gen Z audience are already losing their mind.
Almost like, what's a newspaper?
Yeah. What is newspaper?
So yeah, lots of experiences going throughout, of course.
Nice.
Good. Having spent so many years, I understand that now what you are known for is NLP. And for those who are not familiar with the term, how would you describe what Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or NLP for short, actually is?
Good. I'm actually very happy that many people nowadays do know NLP. When I started up and I entered NLP way back in 2003, NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, I had no clue what it is. I fall in love with it in a 2-day training seminar, which also changed my life because I realized there is something that helps people make changes to their behaviors very quickly. Even after I then moved out of the corporate world to become a trainer of NLP, talking to people, lots of misconceptions. Some people said, like, you do NLP, don't look into my eyes, don't look into my eyes. And I told them, it's not just the eyes, although the ears, And they're like, what do I close now? Don't know. So nowadays, more people know what's NLP. Now, the N stands for neuro. It's the neurology, the thoughts you're holding in your mind and all the neurochemicals flooding through your body. Now, what you're holding in your mind is a thought in a certain situation. a positive situation or a not so positive situation, will influence your own language, the linguistics part. How do you speak to yourself? But also, how do you speak to people outside of you when you speak to friends, colleagues, or clients overall? And how you then speak to yourself will also influence the P, the programming, which simple terms would be your behaviors, your routines, the way you are trying to make sense of the world around you. So the neuro is the thoughts, the neurology in your mind. What you think is influencing the language you speak, will influence the behaviors you have. Give you an easy example. I'm not sure if any of your viewers will have a phobia. You know what's a phobia? Extreme fear.
Yep.
You have a phobia by any chance of cockroaches or butterflies or so?
For me, slightly on the heights.
Heights, okay.
Oh,
Let's
same.
talk about something,
Same.
Same, okay, let's talk something normal, a cockroach. Not many people like cockroaches.
Yeah.
But in some
say the least.
people, it's not about having a party with cockroaches and then removing the phobia. But some people, seeing a cockroach freaks them out. They're standing up, they're screaming, they're melting down neurologically, they're running behind, hiding away, want to get away, no matter how big or small a cockroach could be.
You just described my wife, yeah.
While other people would look at a cockroach and say like, what are you scared of? It's just a little thing. Just kick it out of the room. That should be. So we perceive situations differently. NLP is also the art and science of subjective experience. How do you interact with your environment, the thoughts you're holding in your mind? How do you see something around yourself, the interpretations you do, and the programs you run? So I am not scared of a cockroach. Somebody else is scared of a cockroach. They have a different picture, sounds, feelings in their head, speaking to them differently. Oh gosh, it's a cockroach. And then the programming part, the behavior is, I run away. That's the difference. And I work with many people on phobias. And there are people, for example, think about that. There were people who had a phobia of black clouds.
Black.
Thunder clouds. The person flew in from Singapore because she said, anytime I see black clouds, I freak out, I fear. She had to hide herself under a blanket to not see the black clouds. If she's outside in a mall, she has to go to lower grounds where there's no window.
Wow.
Can't drive a car naturally, of course. But if she's in a car, let's say a taxi or Grab or with friends, she would hide below a blanket. That's impacting your life overall, what you're doing in your mind. A funny story, another phobia that I encountered was somebody who had a phobia of bananas. Couldn't even watch the movie Bananas in Pyjamas. Imagine that. That's what the mind does.
Wow.
What people think, do, behave. And that's a subjective experience. You smile, you laugh, you think like, why is that the case? It makes me curious. What is somebody doing inside here, in their body, in their language, when they experience a certain situation? Going on stage, speaking in front of a camera, presenting to many, many people, having hardcore conversations with their staff members, for example, with the leaders. Maybe they're working in a relationship, in a culture, in a company where the culture might not be in alignment with what they want to believe, or maybe they have a conflict, or they are not getting along with some people. And then ultimately, I don't want to talk to that person. And they're starting to also influence their own mind, their own behavior, staying away from that person because I just don't like to work with that person. Do you understand? So it's also NLP. How is somebody doing something in their head, in their mind, their language, and in their behavior? And how do you help them to get over that stuff?
Great.
Nice. What a complete and very comprehensive explanation for what is NLP. Nice. Good. And just wondering, Andreas, as well, like, so you got to know about NLP back in 2003
Yes.
through attending a training. And then obviously after that, you've slowly started teaching it. But at what point, like, you actually realized that teaching NLP was your own true calling?
Let me go back to that company that I worked with. I worked in the HR consulting company, and somewhere along that line, while supporting the consultants, I realized I do the backup research. supporting the consultant with a lot of data, reports, statistics. I loved doing that. But then consultants flew in, running big projects, mergers and acquisitions, change management, talent pipeline development. I thought like, wow, I want that. And then I was going to my boss and I asked him, hey, can I participate? And he looked at me and said like, you know, you're really good at what you're doing already. I mean, you don't know if you're good in running a big project. Why don't you stay what you are doing right now, supporting the consultants, and every now and then we integrate you into the bigger project. What they did. But I hit the glass ceiling. How many of your viewers have the feeling of, I hit the glass ceiling, want to do more, but can't do it based on something? Now, while they integrated me in some projects, I also talked to CEOs, to managers, to employees, and I always believed in change. But they somehow along that line started to hypnotize me, gave me the ideas. It's hard to change behaviors. I always believed it's easy to change behaviors, but they influenced me. Until then, so I started to think like, maybe it's difficult to change behaviors. I started to believe that as well. Until then, I came across this 2 days training of NLP, and I realized, wow, there is something that helps people to make the changes inside here, to help them create a better life. That's when I realized NLP is for me. And that's why I strongly believe, and my own tagline is always changing behaviors fast, creating change that lasts.
Fantastic. Along that line, before we start the session, Andreas, you were mentioning about a story about a mall and a case of fire and how that involved in your journey of becoming specialized in NLP.
The mall being on fire.
Yeah.
What is the connection? Just curious.
It was survival instincts. I mean, we were working on, I remember a very specific situation. I can bring it back to NLP, of course, as well, where we are standing at the windows and looking out on the road. The revolution just happened in Indonesia, and somewhere in the distance you saw smoke coming up. And then we realized, wow, there's a part of town being burnt down. And then my boss, really great guy, he said like, you guys better go home. So everybody in Indonesia has got a driver. So I had a driver, and it was a long way back. Normal way back was about 45 minutes on a good day. Forget about the traffic jams at that time already as well. That time, I think it was about 2 or 3 hours. We had to do many turns going the different ways. And every now and then, he told me to hide behind the seat. Because he said like, wow, there are people having barricades on the street, and if they see you as a foreigner, I don't know how they would react to me. So he said, Andreas, hide behind. So I was hiding, and I was so glad then ultimately to reach home. Now I remember that vividly, because it's something we can remember situations and emotional situations, and when something happens to us, which in NLP, we label as significant emotional events. And that is like imprinted then, an imprint in our unconscious mind of where we then say like, wow, this situation was so intense, so dramatic, you can't forget it. You can't quite put the timestamp onto it anymore, like the day or the month overall, but you remember vividly that situation. Or I remember it at that point of time, still vividly remember it. So yeah. I realized why it's a very strong negative emotion, and then through NLP, through timeline therapy, it allowed me to look at that back again, and kind of like removing those negative emotions as well, which is also possible through NLP and timeline therapy.
Interestingly, you did bring up both NLP and hypnotherapy together. This is a question that came up for both me and you there when we were reviewing your bio and what is basically our game plan and the set of questions that we have for you. So we noticed that NLP and hypnotherapy, they often show up together in one sentence, and sometimes they're even used like interchangeably. But I believe they are different, and we'd love to hear it from you.
All right. Now, that is a long story I could share there as well.
In a way that it would fit within the 1 hour plus of our
in a 4-hour session, right, that we do have here right now. Just to expand the time frame. Some people call NLP waking hypnosis. Waking hypnosis. Hypnosis being awake, walking around. Let me rewind. NLP, there are huge chunks in NLP which are derived from hypnosis, from hypnotherapy. Some model, some way of communicating, some way of talking coming directly from NLP, certain belief systems or convenient assumptions, as we call them in NLP, are derived very strongly from a hypnotic environment, from somebody by the name of Milton Erickson, who was kind of the father of conversational hypnosis. How do you speak to somebody conversationally in a conversation and utilize what they're saying and then guiding them into the hypnotic state? So there's a huge chunk in NLP which is derived from hypnosis. Some people, because you learn how to speak in a more conscious manner as you're learning NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So the linguistics part of NLP and certain interventions where you access emotional states can guide a person also into a hypnotic state during an NLP training without even mentioning the word hypnosis. I mentioned the word waking hypnosis. It's about, I believe everybody's hypnotized. If you're married, right?
Yes.
So I believe the moment you are married and you're still very much in love, you're still hypnotized. Love is the strongest emotion. If you're looking at your partner, looking into her eyes, and everything around you is fading away, and you can only see the beauty of your wife sitting in front of you, you're going to get hypnotized. Love is a very hypnotic emotion. I look for the home word right now, which is also hypnosis, basically. I hypnotize myself here right now. Waking hypnosis is about how do you use conversations, linguistics, words in a normal day-to-day environment and helping people through certain suggestions, so the way you talk, to guide them to a different outcome. To help them even in a normal conversation, be it in the restaurant, be it to a Grab driver, be it to the person on the road that you are meeting, helping them to experiencing something beautiful. Not sure that makes so much sense to you. If you are, for example, buying products, advertising, many advertisements are very much designed to guide you into initiating picture, sounds, and feelings inside of you, creating emotional states.
Yeah.
Even when you're watching advertisements, beautiful advertisements for Chinese New Year or Hari Raya or Christmas on YouTube created by beautiful companies in Malaysia, and we are getting entranced in that stories. And they're really like activating some emotions inside of us. That's an hypnotic state. Most people are not aware of that we are getting hypnotized on a day-to-day situation, day-to-day occasions, getting hypnotized all the time. One person, the guy I mentioned right now, Milton Erickson, the father of the conversational hypnotherapy, he was saying, like in therapy, for example, people come to him and they are hypnotized by their problems. Hypnotized by their problems. Many people focus on their problems, and they don't see solution. They only have the problem in their mind, and they're running the problem day in, day out. They can't think of any solution. So their own worldview is shrinking down. They are hypnotized. Hypnosis is also about focusing, single-mindedly focusing on one thing to the exception of anything else. Like you are looking into the eyes of your wife. Can't see anything else but the beauty of your wife to the exception of anything else.
That's it, yeah.
And his job as a hypnotherapist is then, by the end of a session, that his clients or patients at that point of time is leaving the office being hypnotized by focusing on what is now positive. So shifting a state from problem state to a desired outcome state. NLP is exactly working around that area as well. If you don't have a goal, you don't need NLP. NLP works very much about understanding first, what do you want in your life? What do you want as an outcome? Not necessarily your life. What do you want when you have a good meal or when you're going on to a presentation, when you have a client meeting? You hold an outcome in your mind. Here's your present state. Where are you right now? And the moment people think about a desired outcome, what do I really want in a sale, in a meeting, in a negotiation, in a conflict, in a presentation, or having a good meal? many people believe like there's something standing between where they are right now and where they want to go. I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too inexperienced, I've got too much hair, too little hair, I'm too overweight, I'm too skinny. That's what we are calling limiting belief, negative emotions. And then many people say like, I can't make it happen. They are hypnotized by their problem. NLP says you can find a way to get over those limitations, that negative emotion that stand between your present state and your desired state, and reach your goals by removing, reframing those things that stand between where you are today to reach your desired state.
Nice.
Basically, it's a very hypnotic assumption as well of how to make that happen in a more conscious manner.
And it sounds quite powerful as well. But there are some people who label this as, pseudoscience. What would be your answer to them?
Okay, let me go back to hypnosis. The thing is, hypnosis is more clearly identifiable. When you hypnotize somebody in an office, for example, they're closing their eyes and they're going into a very relaxed state. NLP is what you can do day to day, day in, day out. How do you manage your own inner states? How do you manage communication? How do you manage conflict? So you're using your mind basically every single day. And it's something which is very intangible. How do you do things in your mind? So some people might believe it's pseudoscience. But there was a time in the world as well when people believed the world is flat. There was a time in the world
But there are still people.
There are still some people who believe that. There were people believing that the earth is the center of the universe. There are the people believing, basically speaking, also you can't drive your car faster than, I think it was 20 miles an hour. If you drive faster than 20 miles an hour, your body can't cope with that speed and it will dissolve.
20 miles.
20 miles, I think was a number somewhere. There were people believing it will never be possible to run, what was it, Roger Bannister? 1 mile in 4 minutes, something like that. People believed that, limitations. Now, that was science at that point of time as well. So how do you know NLP is not science overall? NLP was created in the 1970s, and there might be some assumptions which might or might not be true about NLP. But there are also certain areas in NLP where science is catching up, psychology is catching up, that proves NLP is actually more than pseudoscience, is actually real science. So I like to say sometimes science is catching up with NLP.
Great. You did mention this particular terminology, reframing limiting beliefs. And I understand you're author of 3 books, one with the title of NLP in Leadership. And this terminology is used there as well. Can you tell us more about that?
Okay. When you are in a situation, let's say you've got a conflict, or you got a limiting belief, I can't do it because I am too old. Let me rewind. I was at the hairdresser. And the hairdresser at that time was about 29 years old. And he was busily cutting my hair. He knew I do coaching and do NLP. And he said to me, Andreas, I'm turning 30 soon. Do you think I'm too old to open my own company? He was 29. That was his perspective. Wow. He basically limited himself. Like a horse is wearing blinders. It's called blinders, right?
Yeah.
Only one perspective. I am too old. If I turn 30, I can't become an entrepreneur or my own hairdresser salon. One perspective. Reframing means what needs to be said conversationally then to help that person get different perspectives. Reframing doesn't mean you are in a frame. Reframe means accessing or developing new perspectives, giving new frames what else is possible. So I looked at my hairdresser and said, like, you are 29. I'm already, at that point of time, I was in the beginning of my 50s or mid-50s. And I said, like, do you think I opened my own company with 42 and I made it happen? You are still only 29. You, with your experience, you have more chances to open and close a company. You can fail and start again, fail and start again. There's no failure, only feedback. You can learn if something doesn't work out. You have enough time. So I moved him in the reframe through time. While I said to him, hey, I opened my own company with 42. For me, being an older person, it was much harder to allow for failure because I needed to succeed. How many more chances would I have? That shifted his mindset. Basically, he assumed a different frame as being true. A limiting belief or believing like I can't do something because of ABC is one frame. Through reframing, you allow a person, and in NLP we got something called sleight of mouth, where you can access 14 different frames, 14 different ways of how to look at the same belief in 14 different perspectives.
Wow.
That is like, drastically speaking, could mean you're slapping a person 14 times, or you give a person 14 different insights, and they're actually more, 14 different insights on how to look at something differently to enrich their thinking. Because when somebody is limited like this, it's a very limited point of view, right? Yeah. But if you have 14 ways of looking at the same problem, same way, I promise you, if you master it, it's not just one frame saying it and something shifts, but if you are mastering 14 frames and you're giving a person the time to think through those 14 frames, something is for sure shifting inside of them. That's basically how reframing works. Beautiful tool.
And we also came across this terminology, I guess, is called timeline therapy in your bio. And I understand that you teach this as well, right? Can you tell us more?
Timeline therapy techniques. It's a beautiful tool that I use personally for about 80-90% in my coaching session. Let me give you a definition. Timeline therapy is a process of active imagination. Underline the words active imagination. That allows you to, sounds very funny right now, to, in your mind, travel back in time to a root cause where you installed negative emotions and limiting beliefs, to allow you to let go of anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, or I am too old, I am too young, I can't make the kind of money I want, I'm not a good parent, I'm not a good leader, I don't know how to open an entrepreneur. All of those limiting beliefs were installed somewhere in your childhood inside of you. How about removing those? Timeline therapy allows you to do that. The thing is, active imagination. You got to actively imagine it. And that, again, is very closely related to hypnosis, because hypnosis is also about actively imagine certain solutions inside of you.
It's like a time travel machine.
Kind of a time travel machine.
To go back in time to fix things.
Yes, exactly. And capture the learning. See, when we are younger, when negative emotions get installed or limiting beliefs get installed, we are very young, 1 year, below 1 year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. That's when we don't have something called conscious mind. Everything that happens to you before the age of 6 is getting installed. You have not the resources, the strength, the capability, the stamina to push back. Everything is true. Go back in your own time. How would it be for you? You being a 6-year-old boy, 5-year-old boy, 4-year-old boy, tell of your mom or your dad, what you're doing, mama, papa, is not right, I should do things differently. You wouldn't do that. So you're accepting what they tell you. And it becomes a program running inside your head, which now still influences you. Imagine your parents come home and complain to you about it's hard to find a job. This AI is taking away all my jobs here right now. We will not have a job. We will be unemployed. We are poor again. As a little child, you might not know what it means to be poor. You don't know what's money, but you might install inside of you that thing called AI, that thing called money is terrible because my papa and my mama, they are really upset about it. And I love them. So it must be really bad stuff. And you start to believe money and AI is bad. And you're running around again like a horse with blinders. Money is bad, AI is bad, I can't make the changes. And that becomes very deep inside of you as a belief inside of you and starts to shape your future. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Wow. Through timeline therapy, we will be able to kind of travel back with an old adult mind, kind of looking back at your situation when you were so much younger and say like, what happened at that point of time was happening because I was young. I didn't have the resources. What could I learn at that point of time that this emotion simply disappears? Because the moment, let me ask you a question. Did you ever believe something was not possible for you? And you freaked yourself out and say like, I can't do that. I don't get my head around it. It's too complicated. It's too hard, whatever. Happens to all of us, right?
Yep.
Until maybe you find a coach or a mentor, go to a training, or you learn something through YouTube about that problem you face, and suddenly it's easy. You learn something. So the moment you learn something that you couldn't learn when you were 5 years old or 3 years old, but the moment you capture a learning, going back there with your adult brain, that emotion disappears. You are kind of reframing, it's back to reframing, kind of reframing that old situation with new insights, new learning, new ideas, and then the emotion, the belief disappears. You capture new resources to run your life differently.
Fantastic, Andreas. That's really amazing. I'm listening to you talking about traveling back in time. It kind of sounds like a science fiction movie.
It is science fiction movie like.
Our life is science fiction.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So I am just guessing. Naturally, there will be at least few of those who resist to these ideas, and they will say, "No, I don't believe in this. It does not work," and so on and so forth. Has there been such kind of instances?
Oh yeah, of course.
And what do you do? Like, if you can share one instance.
I would not start any intervention, any exercise with somebody or coaching if I don't have the buy-in. They must be willing to say like, I know this kind of works. I'm doubting a little bit, which is not good because the moment there's doubt, they can sabotage it. But let's try it out. Let's give him a chance. Let's see how it works. And then it works. They must be willing to make it happen. NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy are very, very powerful tools. But no matter how long I am in the industry, no matter how long I'm doing it, if they are saying to me, do it to me, let me see how good you are. I won't do it. I just close my eyes and I lose my weight. I close my eyes and the phobia is gone. I close my eyes and just do it to me, prove me differently. I don't believe that. It will not work. I can talk for hours, for days, for years, for centuries if you want. Nothing is going to change if they don't play it around in their mind. They accept the possibility that there is something happening and it's possible. Then it works. And I had people, one person comes to my mind right now who was extremely guilt-ridden, full of guilt. It impacted his life. He installed that as he traveled back in time, in his imagination, he realized at that point of time that when he was about 4 years old, something happened in his family household that installed that guilt inside of him. He wasn't aware of it. He looked at me after that session and said, like, I didn't think of that one for the past 45 years. And I looked at him like, of course not. Of course you don't think of that situations anymore, do you? And he looked at his wife who was with him, and she looked at him like all the time, like, wow, what's happening? Because he was sitting there, eyes closed, and I was guiding him through, and he was beautifully following through. And he came out of that situation, no more guilt, all gone. And he looked at her and was like, you should try that. That was amazing. And I said, like, of course it was amazing. In my mind only, not loud. But I know it works. It works. So yeah, it's like amazing, but our mind, there are stories around, can Google them up, stories around where people used their mind to create something. Everything that you see outside of you, everything that you have here in your beautiful office was created in your mind first. You two were sitting together somewhere and talked about the possibility of running a beautiful company, of creating a podcast, of having me here. You created it in your mind as an idea first. You had pictures, sounds, feelings. You had discussions. You had like, can that really work? Are we too old, too young again? And then you didn't stop there. without any intervention, NLP, timeline therapy, hypnosis, I'm not sure if you did it. I'm assuming right now not, because you mentioned you didn't do it. But without any intervention, you then created this new reality. So any reality is created twice. One time here, and then you make it happen. And that's what people do, that create amazing things around the world, no matter where you are. Anything you do, if you're looking at a Steve Jobs, or you're looking at a Tesla, or even Elon Musk, they are imagining something first, and then somehow, through a very different way of operating their mind, they are starting to manifest it in real life and make it happen and create a reality around that.
Wow. And Andreas, you mainly work with C-levels, politicians, and some senior people who are in a very senior management. Are they any different in terms of their reception or adoption of NLP techniques?
Let me correct you, if I may. I'm not
Yes, please.
only mainly working. I'm working with leaders. I work also with managers and C-suits, politicians, and all that, also part of the clientele. And interestingly, sometimes I don't even know there are politicians, tantris, or datoks, or high-level C-suits, and they reach out to me personally. Will they be different? Of course not. We all have our own issues, our own problems, just because they are reaching a certain level. And by that is the thing. Somebody who's moving up the career ladder, and I'm talking about positively moving up the career ladder without backstabbing or inner politics or disadvantaging or manipulation. Normal people who are moving up the career ladder, opening a company, being an entrepreneur, they have their problems, they have their challenges, they have their issues, but somehow, due to their experience most likely, they have a little bit of more of a suggestibility. And I mean that purposefully right now, suggestibility. That means I say something to them, or somebody says something to them, and they're not rejecting it instantly. There are people around who reject ideas instantly. They don't. They're taking the idea, they're rolling it through their mind, and they're playing it out in their mind. Does it work or not? Which part works? Which part does not work? And then they either reject it or adopt it or adjust it or say, let's just try it out. That's what might make them sometimes a difference. That they are more suggestible, more driven through their education, through their experience of trying things out differently. Do they have all the answers? Of course not.
Fantastic. And talking about the same group of people, which I believe is quite common for you to have clienteles of that group. They usually hold more responsibilities, more influence, and more power. So is NLP something that we should be concerned about, whether they are using it for ethical, basically, responsibility concerned, or only company goals being concerned? Basically, what I'm trying to ask is, if NLP is being used to create more commitment or more compliance from the subordinates.
Okay. NLP, I give you the official story. NLP is just a tool. NLP is like a steak knife. A steak knife, you can cut a steak, cut the vegetables, cut whatever you want in a very unbiased manner. Why do I say that? I have no idea, okay? But a steak knife can also be used to kill somebody. NLP is like that. So you can use it for good, but there's also, it might be very interesting, a dark side of NLP. Anything you do can be used positively or negatively. Anything you do. Now, I love NLP. I really love it. It doesn't mean that I'm perfect because I'm doing it for so many years. Nobody is perfect. However, it allows people who are really well trained in NLP to encounter a situation as anybody else encounters a situation. There are things who don't go well. There are things who are crazy. Think about just a couple of years back, COVID. Everybody was exposed to that. Many people freaked out and said like, oh my God, what do I do now? Many people closed their business, couldn't do anything, had to find something new. Other people, and I'm not saying about NLPers right now, other people used their mind differently, back to reframing, and said like, okay, I have that situation right now. What can I do here to survive, to create something new, to become more innovative, to make money ultimately as well? So through NLP, I personally learned that it helps me to look at situations differently, reframe them differently, manage my emotions differently, look at different perspectives, and identify what is possible for me in that situation when things go haywire. That's what NLP does to me. Will there be people who are using it negatively? I could tell you many stories. It's possible, definitely.
We like to hear at least one, if you have one that is shareable.
One that is shareable. Let me give you one story. I'm going to the Western world now. In America, there was a huge movement, I'm not sure if it still existed, which was called pick-up artists. You know, pick-up artists, PUA, was a group of men who learned tools in different schools, which was also NLP, but not named NLP, who used those tools of NLP to then go into pubs or clubs to pick up women for a one-night stand. That was using NLP. How do you influence somebody at a very negative level overall? Will a person, now I got to reframe it a little bit because people might get worried like, oh my God, NLP is negative. It's always about the willingness to participate. You have willpower. You always have a chance to push back. But NLP can allow you to open up the mind a little bit more if you want to use it negatively. Now, to me, as an NLP trainer now, I love getting influenced by people who use NLP on me. Any sales training, anywhere you go, in many trainings nowadays, anywhere politics, you will find components of NLP or NLP without naming it NLP. Let me tell you a story, okay, about myself and how I like to be sold by somebody who knows NLP. Many years ago, I upgraded my website. I normally like to run it by myself, but I thought like, okay, it's time to also outsource that to generate more time, and the web development goes so fast, can't cope with it anymore, find somebody. So I was sending out invitations to get proposals from web development companies. Some of them came back to me, wonderful, beautiful proposals. One stood out. I invited that guy over to present to me. And he was beautifully presenting. And then somewhere along that line, I thought like, this guy knows NLP. So I picked up the way he spoke, the way he behaved, the way he related to me. And I smiled at him and I said like, you use NLP, right? You learned NLP. And he said like, yeah, I used it a couple of years ago. When you know good NLP, you don't cheat people. You explore. Is what you want to sell to them good for them? Is it really required by them? Do they really need it? You can link the product, the service then to their needs. I'm also exploring with people if they need NLP training from me or corporate training with me. If I realize they don't need it, if I realize I'm not the person who can deliver it, I say, you don't need me, you need somebody else. That's the good side of NLP. Do you understand?
Yes.
So I like to be sold by somebody who knows NLP because I know they're taking care of me. They don't push me to buy something that I don't want. They're watching out, they're eliciting my value, they're checking out my belief, they're checking out my needs. Do I really need it? And then they say like yes or no. And I love it. And knowing NLP, you know when you get cheated. Because you know when somebody's trying to manipulate you, to pull you across the table with not so good NLP. Also possible. But then it's fun, basically speaking, okay, because I know NLP, I know what's going on, and then I can decide I shut down the conversation or I play along and let's see how good they really are.
Great.
Okay, just now you were talking about when someone is using NLP, you can know. Like, is this person using NLP? Can you name any world leader that effectively uses NLP techniques?
Let's put it into a different frame first. NLP is about also influencing the emotion of yourself, of other people. Using language to yourself and communicating to other people. That's one thing. So I believe strongly that anybody across the world who has a strong influence on people, positive influence. I want to talk positive influence right now. I can give you a negative example as well afterwards. This person will use their mind in order to use influence, using language powerfully, purposefully. Knowing NLP, knowing these language patterns, I studied NLP now for over 20 years. I read over 1,000 books on influencing, on language, on persuasion, and how to use words. Spent tons of money and upgrading my own skills as well. So I do know when somebody is using words, language skills, that comes from the world of NLP. Will they purposely use NLP? I do know some politicians who have been trained, people like Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. They have been trained. And I hope they're listening to the podcast and reach out to me for further development. Just a promotional alert here. So I do know they'll use NLP intensively. But again, because I've learned it, so I can identify those patterns. Let me give you the negative example, if I may.
Sure.
You cannot use the name Donald Trump here.
No, I can't use the word Donald Trump. And
No,
I
just kidding.
don't know right now if the name I'm using would not necessarily, because people create associations. So you mentioned the word Donald Trump. If I mention the next word, people might, that's NLP as well. How do you link situations together at a very unconscious level? I wanted to give the example of Adolf Hitler.
Adolf Hitler.
Adolf Hitler in Germany, 1933 to 1945, creating of the during the Second World War. No NLP existed at that point of time. But through his language, it's known that Hitler studied Greek opera. NLP is modeling also. NLP is modeling what do excellent people do in their mind to create excellence, positively speaking right now. And then what can I use, learn from them to install it inside of me to also become excellent. Hitler used it negatively. He was studying Greek opera, Greek mythology, and when you see him on videos, on stage, sometimes how he speaks with his hands right up and very dramatic, he was influencing a whole country to go into a negative hypnotic trance for 12 years and ultimately then waking up. That was a huge amount of negative hypnosis happening at that point of time. My belief. Not sure if you believe that. It's just my own inner belief. Belief is what we want to believe. That's a negative example.
Great. You took us to the Western world. Now, naturally, I have a question. Whether embracing or adopting NLP techniques, is it any different from what you have seen in Western countries versus Asian countries, or in particular Malaysia?
I could talk to you for 2 hours about the history of NLP and what happened in the Western world to NLP. Couple of snapshots. In America, NLP was nearly killed because of certain developments. So NLP went down badly in the early 1990s. There was even a lawsuit one time around NLP. Is NLP trademarked or not? Okay, it's not trademarked. There was a lawsuit around. And because of that lawsuit, many people in America thought like, I don't want to train NLP anymore. They put their signboards down on companies not training NLP anymore. Using NLP, but not doing it anymore. Or not using the words NLP anymore. Mm-hmm. There were, then I mentioned earlier, the pickup artists and school of seduction using NLP in a very negative manner to still utilize NLP. It was America. Now it's growing again, but people are still a little bit like influenced by the negative publica. Not thinking about a person like Anthony Robbins, who is also coming from the world of NLP, is certified in NLP, doesn't use the word NLP or use it nowadays again. He is all of Anthony Robbins is NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. In the Western world, in Germany, when I told my family, my friends, I become an NLP trainer, in that world map of the world, many people believe it's a cult. NLP is a cult. Don't go there. It's scary. Oh no.
Adolf Hitler, yeah.
Oh my God. No, go back to that one, okay? Interestingly, somewhere I'm more interested more impacted by the influence in Malaysia because, hey, we were the pioneer. I was a pioneer of NLP in Malaysia. There was no NLP before me and a couple of other people who became trainers of NLP at the same time. And we opened our own companies around the same time. Somehow, and I'm praising ourselves here right now, okay, maybe we did a good job. And NLP is really greatly uptaken here in Malaysia that people can develop a different future, different life for themselves using NLP for themselves. Does it help you? So I'm very happy that NLP in Asia, not just Malaysia, of course, is taking up so positively because for me, it's a force of good. It's a force of how do you not getting mesmerized, negatively hypnotized by things around you like AI, like economic crisis, like by the wars around us happening, but what can you do within yourself to still have a good and happy life, a fulfilled life? That's what NLP does to me as well, for me.
Wow. And although I would say most people agree with positive things associated with NLP and a lot of NLP certified trainers in Malaysia, but some, some bring this up saying, personal development industries mainly focus on quick fixes instead of long-term change. How do you respond to that?
You used a very hypnotic command right now. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Let me decode what you are saying.
Wow.
Very easy. Most of us will agree. So how can I say no? As a hypnotic linguistic pattern, most of us will agree. So who would I be to say like, no, I'm not agreeing with you? Because that word most, you didn't define who agrees with you and how specifically they agree with you. That was a very hypnotic command. Well done here.
Well, thank you so much. All thanks to you.
See, I told you, everyone is using hypnosis without realizing, or hypnotic language pattern, or conversational language patterns, or NLP, without even realizing it. But it's just about using it consciously. Personal development industry. The personal development industry across the world, mainly even in the Western world, is under fire. Why? Because it has developed somehow also from some people into a money-making machine. Like I'm creating something new and then I'm going to get rich and I'm just selling many books and many seminars. Bad influence. NLP is about personal development, but so much more. Personal development is anybody like affirmations, like meditation, like yoga, like helping people get better, like breathing work, like EMR and all that stuff. All of that is personal development. NLP is, drastically speaking, taking what do you have right now within yourself. In NLP, we call it map of the world. Who are you right now? How do you, in your mind, individually, subjectively, so not generally, construct inside of you what is good for you, what is negative for you. How do you hold your own inner beliefs, positive or limiting beliefs inside of you? What do you need to do inside of you, shift inside of you to create the change you want to do to get to a better spot? We talked about phobia in the very first beginning of that session. How is somebody, if I were to go to a personal development seminar, then it's a 3 days rah-rah-rah training, but the person still got the phobia. It's hasn't changed anything, even if the person feels very motivated right now. Now, in NLP or in understanding the structure of how that person is doing it, I would ask questions, understand, guide that person. How do you do that inside your mind, that you have that fear of a cockroach? How do you do it in your mind that you have that limitation of I can't make money, or I'm not a leader, or I am not an entrepreneur? How do you do that? Where is it coming from? And then starting through active imagination, through guidance, through questioning, through interventions, through exercises, having the person gain new insights. Is that personal development or professional development? Possibly falling under it, but I would see NLP, I sometimes like to say NLP is the mothership of personal development.
Nice.
But you could also see it differently ultimately as well if you want to.
Nice.
Fantastic. Now, Andreas, as training providers, we usually introduce trainers to those clients who are interested. And among the very early on questions that we receive is proof of track record and so on from those trainers. Now, that is naturally for creating, showcasing credibility and so on. However, when it comes to your case, you have worked with so many C-levels, and most likely the next person who will be interested in engaging you is going to be another C-level. And what you have done obviously falls under confidentiality, kind of a clause of a perhaps NDA that you have signed. So how do you showcase your credentials to those clients who are interested to engage you, especially when it comes to top management?
Okay, different levels of top management. I coached high-level C-levels, VIPs, and politicians. And many times when I do that with them, I sign an NDA, can't do it. Some of them, I'm asking for permission. Hey, can I contact you when somebody else is inquiring about a similar service? Many of them say yes. I'm not putting them into proposals, but I'm asking them, I'm always putting a line below. In case you need referrals, please reach out to me. I'm providing it to you. Number one. If you go down to even leadership or corporate training, I am very careful about revealing a client's identity. Even if I work with normal companies in their leadership training, even if it's managerial levels, if it's about people moving up in the career ladder, becoming from managers, going to leaders, it's happening many times. It's one of my favorite topics overall. I'm still in my own personal proposals, don't like to give the name of that company. Only if they would allow me. But otherwise, I don't do that. I do know personally I might lose business because they say like, hey, where is your 20, 40, 50, 60, 100 company that you worked with? But I don't like to showcase it too much. I know it's disadvantaging. I can call it bragging or so. It's just not me overall. I can tell them stories if I'm getting invited. I can tell them many stories of what happened in training classes or when I work with politicians or when I work at C-level without mentioning the company, the person. Yes, I can do that.
Obviously, you run a lot of NLP embedded workshops or NLP trainings, right? And NLP is about bringing out a change in someone's behavior, mindset, right? What is the most surprising thing transformation, I would say, that you have seen challenged about your own beliefs?
Oh, challenging my own beliefs. Oh, yes. Again, another 2 hours adding on to that story.
Another episode, yeah. Okay.
Corporate training a company, training them on sales. We were in the beginning of the training. And there was a lunch break, of course. The person said like, hey, I'm meeting a client. I'm trying out what you're doing, sales training. She went to the client and she was very much engaged with the client. Suddenly, I must have been in her head. She thought like, let me ask the question Andreas taught us. She asked that question and she asked another question and she realized, wow, the client is really driving on it. It was a sales training about investing into something. The client was so engaged, so happy that she asked the client questions about him at that point of time. And he said like, I give you a check. You fill in the number you think I should invest with you.
Wow.
Kind of blank check. She thought she came back to the training, she said like, initially I had no idea what I'm doing. Because then she realized like, do I put in 1 million ringgit? Do I put 100,000 ringgit? Do I just put 10,000 ringgit? What do I do? I don't want to mention the number she put in there. But she said like, it put her on the spot like, wow, what do I do now? And she came back and said like, my goodness, Andreas, that stuff really works. Thank you so very much. I was like, wow, you are really great. Just after the first part of the training, you instantly applied it. How much further will you go if you learn the rest of that stuff? Boom.
Nice.
That's one. Another participant of ours came to us because that was in the public training, came to us because he had procrastination. He procrastinated, couldn't finish his book. Easy to remove procrastination. Doesn't take longer than 2 or 3 hours, actually. He became a best-selling author. 2 or 3 books, can buy on Amazon.com and all that. He used all those tools we learned to ultimately, I think in the meantime, 2 Netflix movies, became an actor, created his own perfumery line, a property magnate. He had a reality show back in the UK about property where people compete for property, like what is it called, American Idol, where people had to compete for each other and the winner gets an apartment somewhere in the middle of Manchester.
Wow.
Just using that tool first that blew out his whole limitations ultimately. Starting with one thing. We always believe one holds us back and it's just a little goal. What happens if that one thing you change is opening the floodgate to major changes across your life overall? Nice. Be aware it can happen, always.
Nice.
Amazing.
2 stories. I can tell you more if you want.
Great. That's amazing stories. I'm sure you have many more.
Oh, yes.
But unfortunately, limited time. Let me move to the next question. Actually, we are getting closer to the final questions. Like one of the last ones is, everyone is talking about AI, the most buzzword over the past couple of years. So when it comes to NLP, or basically your field in general, you see AI as a complement to what's happening in your domain, or a competitor?
He also used hypnotic language patterns. Getting to the end of the session, pre-framing me. We are wrapping up soon. See, the little things, without knowing it, we're using it, and it causes other people in the mind to do something without even realizing it. So you created a frame, we're getting to the end. That's a frame. I could reframe it, okay? If I choose to, 14 times if I want to.
Please don't. Yeah.
Then you were sitting here for another 4 hours or 5 hours and you wouldn't even know that the time flew by.
Reframing.
So the reframing overall, okay? Reframe the reframe. I'm speaking to many trainers, global NLP trainers, because I'm part of the Global Leadership Forum of NLP. It's a frame, okay, to give me credibility. But really, I'm working with many.
Using another NLP technique.
Yeah, basically, I'm working with over 150 global NLP trainers, even some of the creators of NLP. And there's a huge discussion ongoing about AI and how it's influencing the industry, not just NLP, but overall training environment, coaching environment. And one was recently saying, and she didn't say it to me, but she was putting it even on LinkedIn, if you are just based on conversation and communication, pattern recognition, how do people act, and some part of beliefs, understanding beliefs only, how do people run their life overall, AI will take you out. Then you are kind of a low-level coach overall, because AI can do it better. You are competing, and I love her metaphor, you're competing against 1,000 servers, positioned somewhere, maybe Malaysia, positioned somewhere, they are your competition. How can you compete with them if AI gets so good? Which is true. Now the thing is, in NLP, I do know over 200 different exercises, interventions to help a person change their mindset, be it through conversations, let's go over to the other room and let's do an exercise to manage your emotional states, an exercise. And I'm watching you going through the different exercises. Like when we had talked a couple of times, may I say that? In NLP, we are watching people, observing people, of how they are acting on a moment-by-moment basis. Like every now and then, as I was talking to you, had a little bit of a color shift, getting a little bit more reddish and less reddish. Your eyes just moved up to this side, for example. All of those gives me indication you are doing something inside of you. I didn't explore it, but I know you do something inside of you. Now you're doing it again. AI can't do that yet. There's no robot running around, yet observing you. So NLP allows me to study, observe a person, and understand, hey, I say something, you're doing something inside of you. What's going on right now? Is what I'm saying correct? Am I on the right track? What happens? Is there some shift inside of you with regard, for example, anxiety, limiting belief, or whatever it is? If I do an exercise, I'm talking to you first, I'm exploring with you your problem. AI can do that as good as me. I want to say that like that, maybe better. I'm good at it. That would be the competition. But AI will not be able to say, let's go over there right now and help you through active imagination, guide you back into the past to help you let go of anger, sadness, fear, or guilt, to help you achieve emotional mastery, to help you get up and stand on stage and give a great speech, to help you to ask for the promotion you deserve and want to have for the last 2 years, but never got. How do you do that? AI will not yet be able to do that. That's the difference right now. Does that make sense?
Yes, very much. I believe we are still quite a few years away from...
Not very far.
Not very far.
No, I read an article recently sent to me by one of the trainers. Whatever far you believe be ahead of AI, you might think 3 years or 5 years, just think about 1 year. Then you might be accurate.
Yeah.
And then AI is catching up. Recently, we might move out of the topic, was a news basically that AI was identifying, recoding itself. Up until now, AI update was done by humans. For the first time, I think 2 or 3 weeks back, AI was updating itself. That is scary. That is exciting. However you're seeing it, it's a frame you're holding in your mind. Sorry, I was brutally interrupting you.
No, please.
That's scarily exciting.
Scarily. That's NLP terminology.
That's it, man.
Excitingly scared. You can also say that, okay? Playing with the word is NLP.
All right. So,
Sorry,
I was interrupting you again. We were interrupting you right now.
No. You were not. Actually, I was thinking about, while you were mentioning that, I was thinking about a recent podcast that I was watching, and they were highlighting quite along the same lines. They were saying that among the top high-paying jobs that are being basically recognized as most in-demand jobs in 2026, mainly they are communication-related jobs, whereby I imagined having AI around makes communication much easier. But in fact, actually, it has turned out to be there are so much of AI-generated so-called text messages, marketing campaigns, and what not, where companies are now desperately looking for humans who can, generate the kind of communication where it does feel human. Oh. So now when it comes to NLP, I'm assuming it's somewhat about the same. So at some point, probably I will be able to read those kind of so-called shift in facial expression, skin tone, movement of the eye, and so on. But at some point, again, it will revert back to engaging humans because you cannot do the job.
Gotta give me the link. I want to hear that. I think you're very right. If you follow the more recent discussion about AI-generated posts on LinkedIn or in Facebook, people start to get fed up with it.
Yeah.
And if you have been trained up to identify those, you can identify what is AI written.
Yep.
So the thing I think is, to add on maybe to you overall, is like, okay, I'm giving a good input into as a prompt. I need to have knowledge already about what I'm talking about. That's number one. AI is generating something in a very generic manner or a very outstanding manner. Now then comes my skill of what do I do with that to make it mine, which I think AI can also still do sooner or later. But it's still about preserving my own authenticity ultimately in the messages. AI will not be able yet to know the stories that are individual to you, to me, yet, until we are putting it in. Then it can utilize it. And that is still the differentiator, I believe. And that, I think, is going into communication. How do you communicate with that? And what do you do with their communication to stand out and differentiate yourself out of that mass of AI-generated LinkedIn posts?
Yes.
Beautiful. I want to have that link.
Wonderful. For sure.
Nice. So, moving on to the last session of our today's podcast. For our viewers out there who's been following this session, what are the top 3 signs that would actually indicate that their organization, perhaps their leadership team in their organization, actually needs training or coaching with NLP?
Let me reframe that. I would believe any organization would need NLP. If the company is in a crisis situation, they need NLP because the audience, the employees will be scared, worried about losing their job, don't know what's going on. Disengagement of the employees totally. If the organization is in a upswing, they need to cope with rapid growth. People freak out as well. Their own limitation is going to limit their potential because whoever you are where you are right now based on your own inner beliefs. That means you have reached a certain level in the organization because of a certain belief you hold. Now the organization is growing rapidly. Is your belief system able to cope with that rapid growth? Or will it freak you out? You go to the office and you say like, too much work, I'm overloaded, I don't know how to cope with it, more and more work coming up to me right now. That is a system you're running inside of you. You need NLP as well. So whatever it is, however, if a company is doing well, they need NLP because they're going to go down sooner or later or hit a wall. If a company is going down, the question is how much further do they want to go down? They need to spend the money to go up. So it's about employee engagement. Is it going down? Is it up? Where's the friction inside the organization? Do people talk to each other? Do they like to talk to each other? It's not about being friends and big buddy with everybody, but some people just don't like with each other because they are running their own system. But you need to work with the person over there in the other cubicle, and you can't stand him because he's got the quirk, he is behaving differently, he's a bit weird. How do you act and behave and deal with that person in order to still get your work done ultimately? So yes, companies need to change the behaviors of their leaders. But I like to work at the level of beliefs, values, and identity. And when you achieve that, these are the components of a corporate culture. So think about what is a culture you want to achieve as an organization. What are the beliefs and values you might need to achieve, to shift in the organization? Then again, you also need NLP. So you also always need NLP in whatever situation you're in.
State, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So,
when you hire somebody, how that person fits into your team.
Yeah.
You need NLP to understand that person's belief system, their identity, what's making them roll. You always need NLP.
Nice one. So whether a company is in a positive spin or not so positive spin, or when they see an engagement level within the employees, among the employees are going down, that is one of the top 3 signs that actually you need an NLP.
$8.1 trillion gets lost every single year because of lost productivity, disengaged employees.
That is a big number.
Gallup study research last year. The main factor is the direct manager. Employees inside, which disengage people. What do people normally say then? What companies say then? We need more training, we need more whatever. But they don't realize, yes, you're doing a bit of training, changing a behavior, and then you wonder a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, same behavior comes back again. Because beliefs and values drive behavior. So if you don't cope, if you don't tackle the beliefs and values and the identity of that individual in an organization and sprinkle it down to your team, then the same behavior comes back over and over and over again. Then people will be unhappy, unfulfilled, and you keep losing the money.
Good. And one last question. Where to get started?
Where or when?
Where to get started? Where and when? Yeah.
When
is
tomorrow?
Now? When is now? When is yesterday, right?
When is actually yesterday? Yes, okay, yesterday. Where to get started? Well, I'm working with these beautiful people here, Hamid and Farid, and you reach out to them. Let's talk, get me into the organization. Let's talk, identify training opportunities, and let's see what your team, whoever is watching this here right now, can do to get your organization up in coping, avoiding losses of revenue, coping with AI, changing the belief system, team alignment, better communication. Everything is possible.
So,
Reach out to you. Tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Andreas. It was a great session. Like me personally, I learned a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate being here. I always learn a lot as well about myself and you.
yeah.
It was a wonderful session. I hope that our viewers also enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can have you again to discuss these in further detail.
Thank you so very much for having me here.
Thank you so much, Andreas. Such a pleasure.
Thank
Learn a lot. Really feel enlightened.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.